Hey guys, welcome to another week. We talk Thursday, Thana and friends, and with my good friend here, Mark Francis. Hi, Mark. Welcome back.
Hi, Thana. Thanks for having me.
uh, it's a, it's a, it's been a tough week, lah. Tough medical week. No fireworks, no jam on the road trying to go back anywhere. It almost feels surreal. You talk about property trends. I saw the news the other day. Studio KLTC announced their food court is closed.
Yeah, I saw. Wow.
The food court, can you imagine KLTC's food court after 20 years, the food court is closed. I was like,
it's always been full, so that's crazy,
And even during pandemic, I think there were people still coming around and buying orange stuff, and there was still some movement there. But now it's just officially closed. I guess they just cannot meet the volume, so it's scary, bro. Really scary.
Could be the vendors just can't stay tenants there anymore. So
because a mall is different, isn't it? And I think with a mall, you are forced to be open. Am I right? You're only allowed to be closed for I think 1 or 2 days.
I'm not sure how strict they are with MCO and all that, but back then I know that if you were closed outside during the mall hours, they would actually give you a fine and so on.
Correct. So, even if you close, if you open late, you get a fine.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Nice new hairstyle, by the way, Thana.
It's not a hairstyle, it's just hair being long. I actually have got a hairband here. You can see hairband comes to this. I've actually managed to trim my sides on my own with a cutter. But the top, I'm just leaving it. So
how far out are you trying to make it? Like a man bun or something?
I'm just trying not to go to barber, because my wife said barber is too dangerous. Don't go barber. So that's how
I think if you go to certain areas with good SOPs.
You know what the problem is, bro? The problem is not the fact that I might get infected. That isn't the problem. I'm not scared of getting infected, because why? If I go to a place, I'm safe. I'm taking care of myself. I sanitize. I do.
Yeah, exactly.
The problem is what? The problem is when you go to a place and some idiot with being positive comes there, and then when you get that on your app on SJCC, although you are double vaccinated, you become contact casual. And when that happens, and it's happened to me now, I'm on day 9 now. So my wife and I, both of us, my wife has got only one vaccine. Her next vaccine is on Sunday. Both of us cannot go to the pasar to buy groceries. My mom had to go and buy for us groceries.
Even contact casual, they don't let you in.
No, bro, no. So imagine for me, as a parent with kids, we need to buy groceries, lots of groceries. I can't go to the pasar. So I'm like, I want to jaga my bullet, so to say. I want to go places that I really have got to go. I don't want to be stupid contact casual, and then I'm stuck, and then I can't go anywhere.
Makes sense.
And I'm looking forward to the 14 days after the vaccination for my wife, so I can go somewhere and eat some nice food,
finally,
I want to go to. It'll be somewhere around. So the Sunday is what date? So Sunday is the 4th. That means on the 18th of September, my wife and I can have the first meal in a very, very long time. Okay, so guys, for joining us, thank you so much. We've got Rizwan here. We've got Karnesan. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. Today, the show is going to be a bit more different. It's more interactive. We want you guys to be talking to us. So please, by all means, say hi, and we'll give you a link if you want to join us, and we can chat. So it's going to be a very, very interactive show. So yeah, it's going to be a good one. Let's start with the intro as usual, with the Horizon intro music, if I can find it. Oh yeah, here it is. Welcome back, guys. So yeah, so Khalib Raj says, can masuk shopping for casual contact? You know what, Khalib? I thought you can, because on the app it says you can go anywhere and do stuff. Today I went to service my new used mountain bike bicycle. I went to the shop to get it serviced.
Oh, you got it?
I got it, bro. I got it,
okay.
And I went to service and air and all that stuff. And the guy said, can I see your SJCC? They want me to be double vaccinated. They want me to so yeah, to enter to a bike shop, bro, they stop me.
and then
And then I want to buy a helmet, and still I was like, oh, how much is this helmet? It's like, can you wear gloves? Can I give you gloves? Then I was like, no, screw this, I'm walking out of there. I walked out, just too much. Hey, Jared, we got Jared O. Hi, Thana. Hi, Mark.
Hello.
Hey, guys, how are you? And today we are talking about property trends. I'm always fearful, Mark. I know I don't know about you, but Mark obviously is a property consultant, property sales lead. Is that right, Mark? Maybe you can tell us your background before we continue.
Oh yeah, sure. I'm actually the sales team lead for Sime Davi Property in Subang Jaya City Centre. So I sell properties there mostly.
So if you guys want to hear properties in Subang Jaya Centre, contact Mark. He's always in the showroom. I guess now you're MCO, you are not in the showroom, but you can always.
Yeah, it's more appointment basis now, and for those 14 days vaccinated, that SOP kind of thing. Yeah.
But if you go there, the name Mark is there, his phone number is there. You can go and check him out. But it's interesting because to me, when I buy properties, and obviously I'm old enough that I've bought properties and I sold them off. People like myself come to me and say, you know what, this is the new best thing. You got to buy this property. This property is now his Soho, or this is Bali concept. And I always like Kiasu, like I want to jump on the jet bandwagon. Oh, wow, something new. I want to buy it, because that's always with a user, always want to buy the next best thing. Because again, thinking about high-rise properties, not landed, but properties that are in a condominium environment and stuff. It's fun to buy with trends, but it's also scary. I guess before we go on, is that what do you think are the current craze right now? What is selling hot? What's hot in the market now? What is the property you can sell easily?
In terms of trends,
well, I guess what is actually good to buy. That's a separate issue. What is good to buy may not be what is selling the most, isn't it? There are two different things.
Yeah, very
right?
true.
Yeah.
So which is your question?
What sells the most?
What sells the most? I think end of the day would be just the lowest per square feet, zero down payment, fully furnished type of
really,
property. At one point, it was even GRR had a trend back then, where guaranteed rental returns and so on.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, but now developers don't do that anymore. So
and then there was what is that? Developer interest bearing scheme. What is it called?
Oh yes, that was banned.
It was banned, obviously.
To pay progressive interest.
Yeah, so interest was covered and no installment. There was one point I think they were selling like a free 2-year installment, for example.
Now the biggest craze that people have been going for is a lot of those cashbacks or zero down payment trends. I would say those are the easiest to move with the home ownership campaign.
And I guess those are the most scary, isn't it?
It is in a sense, because you may get people who are very deep in debt and buy the property just for the cashback to clear other stuff, and that's scary,
So your thought is the fact that the fact you're buying without cash is the scary part, or is the fact that property was inflated from day one is scary? Because that's the other issue, isn't it?
I think buying without cash isn't an issue, because you have better things to do with your cash. It could be that people have their cash invested in stocks or something that's growing for them, so that's not a bad thing, or in business. So buying without cash is not an issue, as long as you can afford the cash flow, which the banks should screen quite well. But I think when you're buying for the purpose of just to get cash back because you're tight and you're trying to have more money to spend, then you're getting deep. You're already starting that.
It's like you got property A, property B, but you're buying property A because of this cash back, not because property A is better property.
Flow. Yeah. I mean, it's okay now because interest rates are quite low, so it's like a cheaper overdraft indirectly. But the issue here is if the cashback is too much and the real property value isn't what the S&P price is and it's much lower, then next time when you get long, also you can't get the value enough to cover the loan. So then banks are also in trouble. So that's the downside this year.
Yeah. And I will say I've also bought properties with cashback, and it was like almost a non-option. It's like you had to take the cashback. Wasn't an option to me.
Oh, really? You couldn't take a lower loan margin?
I could, no, because I think the way it works was that either I had to pay the deposit and they give me back or something like that. Because the way it works was the cashback came after a certain level of disbursement.
The discount structure.
Yeah. So it's like I thought about it like, okay, doesn't make sense, if you're gonna sell property within the first 5 years, it didn't make much sense, But yeah, I see what you mean, because you basically try almost cashing out the benefit on day one itself.
Yeah, it's a risk lah.
And I guess Soho is the next big thing, isn't it? People say Soho, it sounds so, I don't know, trendy,
I
I
think
guess.
Soho actually was a big thing previously. But now actually I'm getting a lot of clients that actually ask me if the title of the land, I mean the title of the project, is it residential or commercial? So there is an awareness against Soho as well now. Because Soho, the downside is your electric rates and so on are higher versus residential use properties.
For those people who don't know what Soho is small office, home office. Basically what I call, you can operate an office in that same location that the property could be a office or a house for you to stay in, isn't it?
Yep.
Correct.
I guess with the work from home craze, it could work for some people.
So I'm thinking like, no, everybody is Soho, right? Everybody is buying.
Yeah, but there's just, I think, too much Soho for what the demand really is lah. And people were trying to market Soho as places to stay, which pro and con lah. The con is the high utility bills and so on.
Yeah. So I guess the reason why they make as Soho is that they can't get the approval from the local authorities to build a residential house, isn't it? So they can make commercial, but they can't residential. Is that one of the reasons why?
That could potentially be one. The other one is the plot ratio. So when you're doing Soho as a commercial development, not for residential use, then you can actually do much more higher density, and then your developers' margins are nicer.
Say again. Sorry, I didn't catch that. So if it's commercial, what happens?
So if it's a commercial Soho, they can do more units in one place. So then the developers' margins and profit become higher, because then you can do more units. The other thing is car park requirements. Soho, they could technically give you no car parks or one car park. Versus in Selangor, if you want to do a service apartment, you need to have 2 car parks. This takes up a lot of space. So all this will affect the margin. That's why Soho can be cheaper than service apartments.
So it's like you're buying it, but then you like, oh shit, after it's finished and no car park, people say like, how do you park the cars here? How do you come here?
No car park, one car park, some will have.
So guys, if you are joining us today, thank you so much. Today is a bit different. If you want to join us, can you go to your chat box there and say chat, and our producer behind the scene, Chiang, will actually connect with you, provide you a link so you can join us live and talk to us and ask questions. Making it very interactive. So yeah, please, by all means, type the word chat, and our producer Chiang will get in touch with you, so you can come on screen live and have a chat with us. Very informal, very interactive. Hope to see you. So I didn't know about this one. I didn't know the fact what called that word Soho meant a lot of things. Is commercial, and I guess with commercial, you're paying commercial prices for water, commercial prices for electricity. But in Selangor, you can convert, isn't it? It can be a Soho, you can convert back to.
Usually, service apartments you can convert as residential rate, but Soho usually it's more commercial based.
The other trend I always see is that I'm not sure if you remember, like back early 2000s, condominiums had the facilities or the swimming pool as you enter. There'll be the nice swimming pool, there'll be nice like fountain, everything will be there. The entrance that was something grand, and then came to a point that the facilities were much like halfway through the property. It's like above the car park. Now I see it's all sky park. Everybody is doing sky park,
Yeah, that's the trend now, infinity pool.
And almost no one cares about lobby, isn't it? Or everybody just, the lobby has a place where you drive by and drop off and you go off, and they don't care about the lobby anymore. Almost, I see that trend happening.
I think because residences also, you don't really go through the lobby. You park your car, then you go straight to your unit, and then you go to the facilities. That's it. You really skip the whole walking through the lobby. That's more for visitors, right? If you're trying to impress visitors, that's it.
So I guess they say like it's more like you're contained in the building itself, and you go to the sky park and you go down. Like the one that you have sold, are all of them having sky parks now, as far as condominium concerned?
not all anymore, but there was a phase where we did mostly all the elevated sky podium and all that, because there was a phase few years ago, actually infinity pools were the trend. Everything we launched had infinity pools, including lot 15.
Yeah. It was and infinity, I guess, from the point of view of pool, that's another issue. Like maintenance wise, I'll show a picture over here. This is an infinity pool, and how nice is that, you know? I don't know how people actually swim. I mean, that's the other thing. I mean, how often you go to a condominium and the pool is empty? So it's always empty. I just find it's always empty. But infinity pool just gives a nice look, isn't it? Where is this, by the way?
This is actually in Tropicana, Lumi Tropicana.
Wow.
Yeah, they're supposed to have the longest infinity pool, if I'm not mistaken, in Malaysia, or not too sure what category, but yeah, the big claims.
Yeah, it's nice, you know, infinity pool. And then I guess now the gym. Gym is another one I see what call a bigger emphasis is given to bigger gym area, you know.
True.
But I guess if you see this as a trend, should you be buying properties based on like trends and what's new and what's fresh, or would you like buy property based on the square feet, location, and that's it, and forget everything else? Because some people might say, who cares?
Yeah, I would say if your goal, you're in it for the long game, you want to keep the property, follow back to the essentials, you know, don't go and look at trends. Trends shouldn't be your deciding factor for the property. It should just be an added bonus. End of the day, the most important is how high is the supply in the area versus the demand. Are people actually, you know, trying to stay in the area? How's the amenities? How's the unit size, the layouts? Do that all suit you? If you buy a unit that is like a shoebox, or, you know, very badly designed, but your facilities is amazing just because of a trend, will you really be happy with that? And will you be able to find buyers later on? These are things that are very important. Don't be swayed by gimmicks and trends, I guess.
But I guess also people are buying properties and owning them for lesser periods. I mean, from what I can see now, the current generation, they're owning for lesser periods. I can't recall anybody who owns for like 7 years or 8 years, 5 years, 4 years. They buy, they sell, they repeat, repeat. You know, the guys who are keeping property for long term, I think getting lesser and lesser. That's also a trend I'm seeing. Caleb makes a comment. The only reason I bought my house was because it was furnished. Save so much. Yeah, I guess when it's fully furnished, it's quite cheap, isn't it?
I mean, it saves you the cost of spending it, but end of the day, you need to see what premium you're being charged for that fully furnished. Sometimes if the developer is charging you 100,000 more than the market value just because it's fully furnished, then you might need to consider whether it's worth it or not. Because actual fact, fully furnishing a unit, if it's, let's say, a 1-bedroom unit, doesn't cost that much. You could do it with some of the ID companies for 20,000-30,000.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned by like companies like, I think the makeover guys, and they give you a package and they'll do for you.
And they even have interest-free installment plans and all that. And also, it's so easy to find companies that will do fully furnished and ID for you nowadays, that I think it's still more important to go for the best unit.
But I guess it's all about financing, you know. The younger you are, it's harder for you to come up with that cash to. I mean, even if it's interest free, but you got to buy. You're thinking about the whole setup, isn't it? You're talking about the hob, the utensils, the furniture. Sorry, that appliances, and you know. And I noticed that high-end properties come bare, isn't it? Is that right?
Yeah, depends. There are usually the smaller layouts, like we have Sanada in SJCC that comes fully furnished because it's 1 and 2 bedroom. But the bigger ones, usually they tend to give partial or bare units because these people are buying their forever homes. They want to design it themselves and all that.
Yeah. Another picture here. This is the estate. You know, guys, if you do not know, Mark just started a new YouTube channel. So if you go to YouTube, and we'll give the link on the chat box here. You can check out. He did a review on this property. This is a property he actually bought with his parents. So yeah, I think the other one is that phase is that the whole double story high-rise property. I think it's amazing lah. I think it's very grand lah. You know, I remember the first time I saw the loft at KL Central. Have you been there? That was crazy, isn't it? Like really long, high, like a glass facade, and you're looking out.
Yeah.
I think I went there with my wife. My wife said, like, how do you clean this mirror? That's the first thing she said. How do you clean this mirror?
Important practical questions.
And then the other thing was that the show unit came with really long curtains, and then we were like, where do we order these curtains? That was the other question we asked, because it's massive. You're talking about what 20, 30 feet high. It's massive. It's crazy. But yeah, I think it's the way to go, isn't it? As properties, as land is becoming more and more scarce. That's the way to go. What else do you have? Sumithan Ulsami says, damn, it's beautiful, worth it, man. Yeah, I know. We'll give you the link to Mark's channel. Go and check out his review. It is quite impressive. I think it's impressive because height is a big thing. Height in a property. I noticed that units that have got height, you don't mind it's smaller. It's funny, isn't
because
it?
it feels more spacious because you have the vertical height as well. Creates the perception.
I was quite surprised how height plays a big part. It just feels so big and spacious, and yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, and the estate actually works on property trend as well that we're talking about today. The dual key unit property trend.
Yeah, that's another one. Dual key. I guess now I guess the dual key. When I hear dual key, I think Airbnb, because like you can have property and you can split out.
That's the thing. Most of the time, these dual key units they're too small. The second unit is like people are doing like studio and all that, and the purpose it feels like, where's my privacy and all that, the way it's designed. But the estate is a bit different. The reason I bought it with my parents is the biggest dual key unit I could find, because most of the time the second unit you don't have your own proper kitchen, or you don't have a proper living room. The layout I got here, there was actually a proper living room, proper kitchen, proper dining, and so it's practical to have a real dual key, because it feels like two units next to each other, versus many of the dual keys where you have to share the entrance and all that. It feels less privacy, I guess.
Yeah, and I guess with today Airbnb. What do you think of Airbnb? Airbnb was another trend that I saw. Was a big thing. But do you think that there is a future in Airbnb?
I have a few properties that I have, and all of them, the rental cover the mortgage, except my one Airbnb property in the city center, Thana. So being a person that has an Airbnb property, I can tell you it's pretty bad right now. Because of the whole COVID pandemic. It's good during good times. Back then, December is just crazy, the rents and all that. But now with the COVID pandemic, it made me realize this Airbnb property structure is a bit high risk. So you need to think.
Yeah, property is a bit of this thing. Like I just got my key to a, he want to say, Bobby Ang says, hello, Thana, hello, Mark. I'm Bobby and I want to go drink wine and chill by my swimming pool. Go check out Bobby Ang's video. He's got a new swimming pool in his house. He's made me want to go on Lazada and look up that swimming pool. I'm thinking of getting one also. But yeah, where was we? Like myself, timing is everything. I just got my key this year to a commercial office lot in Jalan Ampang. So it's like, yeah, tough luck. Try to rent the office unit in Jalan Ampang, smaller unit. In this climate, so yeah, I think
now offices a bit challenging.
Yeah, it's a bit challenging. I don't know, and I think that's where I think when we say trends. When I bought my commercial unit, it was like the trend was okay. KLCC area is gonna be all that. People are going to do more online stuff. They want offices, So that was a trend, and I bought into trends, and I suffered, temporarily, I guess, like not long term. And then the other trend was people buying into how do I say high-end looking properties, but not in high-end locations. What's your thought on that?
I think it depends on the cost of these high-end looking properties. If you're paying high cost because they are high-end looking in not high-end locations, you have a mismatch with the market, right? And so if your market does not have the disposable income to pay you that rental, then you're still not, it's not the right property because you're not going to get the yield you're looking for. Your product must match the market. If your market is looking for something more affordable and you're trying to rent out a high-end property, you may not be able to rent it out unless you rent it out at an affordable price. So then there's the mismatch.
Yeah, it's like you have a Rolls Royce, but you're forced to drive in some crappy little place like why even if it's Rolls Royce, like why are you here? Why the hell are you here? You know.
Yeah.
I'll play a short snippet of the video. So this is Mark's video he made. Again, Mark and I are not sponsored by Estate. He actually bought his property and he's just launched his video.
Just did it for fun.
Just for fun, like, you know. And go check it
the
out.
YouTube video.
Yeah, it's a YouTube video going to the property. It's quite nice. So I want to encourage him to do more videos. And yeah, so yeah, look at
Thanks,
this.
Thana.
Wow. Yeah. So nice. Yeah, and I guess to me, John David says, Mark Francis, go Ben's house and drink. Who's Ben's?
It's a friend of ours, Ben Paul.
Oh, that Ben Paul. Okay.
You know, right? Ben Paul. Yeah.
Yeah, I know Ben Paul. So John David knows Ben Paul. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
So I get scared when they say, I guess we are kanchong lah. We are kiasu lah. As Asians, we are kiasu. When I saw one that was in PJ, it was a Japanese concept property, like a Japanese theme thing. I think it was near PJ, near your other place near Midtown, somewhere there. Yeah, somewhere there. And I guess it's a hit and miss. People who like Japanese concept, they might like it, but they are not into Japanese concept. They're like, maybe not. And the question is right now is
I think I know which property you're talking about.
It's
quite funny because that property wants to be Japanese concept but doesn't have bathtubs. Japanese people must have bathtubs. So okay, you can do the theme, but you need to know what this culture is about. You're not going to attract people of that culture.
Correct. And that's why I'm scared, because like today I can buy this property and if the theme is Japanese or Korean, or maybe today is Korean, all is the craze is Korean, I buy it. What about in 5 years? What about in 10 years? Will that hold, you know? And I'm a bit more old school. I'm going like, okay, when I bought property with you, it was more like, okay, square feet, area, okay, fine, we buy it, you know, and go ahead. I didn't think too much about it, because everything else is like, you know, it's
just hype. Yeah.
It's hype.
Trends.
It's hype.
Yeah.
It's hype.
Yeah, you were very straightforward. You're like, what are the amenities around here? Will this last forever? Will there always be people here?
Correct. I mean, one of the sponsors for Horizon is actually with and probably it's a good interlude to our. I don't have the commercial here. Yeah, maybe Chiang can get the commercial for the property. But Bukit Bintang City Center, that's one of the sponsors for Horizon. I think that was actually a good concept, because it's like those kind of developments whereby it's integrated, whereby it's all in one. I think that's the future, because you people, I think people would not want to walk out. Sorry, people don't want to invite people to their homes. I think that's going to be the trend. You know, like back then, I know when I was younger, very young, like my early 20s, we used to have people to our houses and we have parties, or we'll rent units on the weekends, and we have a pre-clubbing party in a rented unit or in a hotel, like 20 guys or guys and girls in a hotel, and then we go out for clubbing, you know. But today, I think the trend is dying out. People will want to go like, let's go to the facilities area, because the home is very private and it's a smaller unit, getting smaller and smaller. Yeah. So, and places like BBCC, Kia Central, like SJCC, I think they are mini towns, right? And it's quite interesting, you know. But I guess if it does that, would that mean that? Eng Seong says, sorry, the new trend now is about landscaping. Landed, will that last? That's a good one, isn't it? Because if it's landed and the landscape, it's as good as the maintenance of the place.
Yes.
Correct?
It depends if the developer, when they did the landscaping, did they do landscaping that is like lasting? How much do the leaves shed and stuff like that? All these matters, and how long do these trees last? I think it's all about longevity with the landscaping. If it's a good developer who did a very longevity type of landscaping, then that's fine. I think it'll be good. Personally, I think it's something that it should last. It's something that's always going to be there. It's always going to be look nice to the eye. But never buy as the main point. It's also another one of those that we say trends that distract you. Just because the landscape is nice for this landed house doesn't mean I go and buy Semenye over PJ downtown. If my work is in PJ downtown, do I really want to stay so far just because of landscape? Do you think you'll appreciate more because of the landscape?
But I guess people come there and they get wowed by the landscape, correct? Yeah. And my take, and again, I'm very old school, bro. I'm very old school. To me, it's like, if I were to buy a property whereby the landscape is nice, but only requirement is it's a type of property whereby, like for example, like Bukit Bintang Center or like SJCC, like this development, the management will never go to the owners. In that sense, it'll always be maintained by the developer, whether it be whoever the developer is, they'll keep it because it's part of their bigger development. So the whole area is maintained by them. And like for example, in the Sunway and all this, like Sunway Velocity, the bigger space, the bigger environment is maintained by them.
You're not talking about the condo, right? But the township area.
Township itself, correct. So if that whole thing is always with them, then I'm more safe, because fine, I pay the maintenance, but at least I know they'll maintain it. Because most condominiums screw up or F up when it goes to homeowners. When it goes to homeowners space, that's where there's corruption, people cheap out on maintenance, and
I think that's why your neighbors matter, because for condos, residential use, they will be handed over by the owners to the owners. So the owners will take charge eventually. It's more of how principled are your neighbors, what type of neighbors you are, and that's also a very important factor you need to consider when buying areas.
If you think about Mount Kera, for example, I know the Mount Kera is probably an area with good neighbors. The older units in Mount Kera are looking quite run down. If you think about it, the Mount Kera, the older units are a bit run down in terms of the paint, the structure, the outside places, the tiles, and they're old, So that's a place whereby you're talking about expats staying there.
But not all of them. So I've been to some 20-year-old Mount Kera apartments, and they look very, very nice. Actually, I was surprised by how well maintained they are. The rundown ones, I'm not too sure why. But
20 years is still new, isn't it? Come think of it, because I guess it's all perspective.
For high rises, if not well maintained, then it will start looking old. That's why you have the sinking fund to repaint the walls.
What would be your comfortable point of cutoff? I mean, would you buy a property that's old and say, like, I'll only be in the property for 7 years? After what's the cutoff point? Will you keep forever, or will you I want to get out of the property at a certain point in time?
It depends how well maintained the property is, but if I had to put a general blanket rule, I would want to get out of it before it gets past 12 years old, I guess, because that's when everything starts showing and so on, the aging starts. But if it's well maintained, there are many nice properties that are quite old in Mount Kera, like Sunny Mount Kera as well, and so on, where they have very nice good neighbors, I guess, that maintain the place very well. Everything is very nice, and
but it's not a lot. I mean, there are some, but they're not the common practice.
They tend to be the more higher end, big size properties, like One Menurung near BSC, Sunny in Mount Kera. All these are very big layouts. And I think these big big sizes high rise tend to attract people who want to buy to stay themselves. And when people are buying to stay, the quality of the JMB is better. The quality
but those properties, the JMB, the maintenance of the JMB is also by big companies, right? They're not run by.
They will hire a big company to run it, yes. But the committee and every decision making is by the owners themselves.
I think that's a key thing, Tiba Naidu here, fresh grad to buy either Prima or private seller. So Mark's also a recent fresh grad successful, but it was
I don't know how fresh lah.
You're fresh lah. It's still within 10 years of fresh lah. Correct now.
Yeah, less than 10 years. Yeah, okay.
If you're within a decade, you just graduated, you're still a fresh grad to me, So he's considered. So and you also bought Prima, and so what's your thought about Prima? Because Prima has got some limitation, am I right? So just walk us through the Prima properties and what's your thought about buying Prima?
I think Prima and all this Rumah Whip and so on, it's a good buy if you really want to live in an area that to you the open market is a bit out of your budget, but you really want to live in the area because it's near your office and you see yourself spending a good 5 to 10 years in that place. Because properties like this, like Prima or Rumah Whip, have between 5 to 10 years lock-in period that you can't sell the property. So when you buy it, you're going to be stuck there. So if you're very sure you're not going to move, your job is that type of job, then it's fine. It makes sense because you can't even rent out these Prima properties. So by right, if you follow the rules, you're not supposed to. And so that's why these are properties you're really sure you want to stay. Then it makes sense to buy. But if me as a fresh grad, I think personally I would, when I was a fresh grad, I wouldn't call myself fresh grad anymore, Thana. But when I was a fresh grad, I would say I prefer the freedom. I prefer the freedom to move around. So I would buy more open market properties. Unless again you're trying to buy area, it's out of reach. Like let's say Montiara, it's very expensive per square feet. Most of the condos are, let's say 600,000-700,000 onwards. So there they had a Rumah Whip Kiara Kasih. That was only 300,000 ringgit. And if you work in Montiara, that would have been a great opportunity for you to just buy it and stay there and be close to all that at an affordable place. Yeah.
Not an easy one to get, Ernest Chua says private seller, you need to pay 10% upfront and legal fee. Also, you can't. It's not absorbed, I guess,
Okay, in theory, even from developer, you are supposed to pay the 10% upfront. But now, because of rebates and all this, you actually have zero down payment options from many developers, and they do absorb the legal fees. Private seller, yes, you need to pay these, but if you get such a good deal from these private sellers, where you can get, let's say, 20-30% below market, then end of the day, your savings, if you got the cash, it justifies going through putting some cash up front to save, buying below market versus a new property. And there are ways and tricks where you can mark up the property value. I don't want to get too deep into that, but there are ways where you can actually, sub-sale, you can actually buy the property without down payment as well. Just talk to your salesperson or the bankers. There's probably ways to structure all that.
We can't talk it out loud.
We can't talk. So, it's a big gray area.
Okay, we're going to go to a quick intro break here, and then we'll come back. And again, guys, I said before, this time around it's a bit more different. We want you to join our chat. Please type the word chat in your chat window, and we'll get someone to call you. And let's come and talk to us, have a quick chat, few minutes, and let's talk about properties and what you think are the newest trends and what scares you the most. Ernest Shaw, if you're listening, give us a chat, give us a mark, and we'll join you in. With that, let's go to our intro, our advertisement on Evo Cloud Insurance.
When I switched to Pro Mileage, in my case, I got 46-47% of savings for that time.
Pro Mileage was the only one that gave me 5,000 extra value to cover, yet still cheaper, a lot less.
Turn up!
Marvelous. Artificial intelligence skin.
Welcome back, guys. The next thing which always caught me off guard was about layout. So we got a layout here, a sample property. What layout do you think it's a seller, and what layout should you avoid?
Sorry? Oh, what layout? Okay, me personally, I like layouts that are wider instead of narrower like this, because then you get more natural light. So the wider the layout, the better for me. I want as much natural lighting as possible if I'm in a high rise, because then it feels small and dark, and That's the downside lah of these narrow, long layouts that some high-rise units have.
Sorry, I'm in the wrong window.
Okay. I was like, where did Thana go?
That's interesting because I noticed that when you even like Soho or small studio units, there are a few layouts, correct? And the prices are always based on square feet, not about wide or long. And some are wider and some are longer. And maybe it's just like a 3-4 feet, whatever. But you're saying always go for the one with the wider window access, correct?
Yeah, because you want as much windows as you can. That increases your natural light, creates a more spacious environment for you. And it actually costs the developer more to have a wider layout for you versus the narrower. So if you're trying to be careful a bit, find the best value for your money, I'll choose the wider layout.
And it doesn't matter if I guess it's a funny shape, or doesn't matter because it's that window, isn't it? The window is the biggest thing.
Yeah, it should still be usable space. You don't want wasted dead space, but yeah.
Yeah. Ernest Chua says again, most important, must be squarish and not waste space. Yeah, I think I've seen some properties whereby there'll be like a beam or the wall when you're going there. There's I guess it blocks you and you got to go right and go straight, or the room is a bit crooked. That's all funny.
Ideally, my favorite is the rectangular shape, lah. Like I said, the wider, the narrower, you get like a semi-D bungalow kind of feel.
Yes.
Just like terrace houses, 24 by 70 is more expensive than 20 by 70 because you get that wider.
In fact, I've seen rental properties like 24 by 40 or 50. It'll be shorter, but it'll be wider, correct? Yeah, and those are costlier opposed to anything else. Yeah,
exactly.
Interesting. So guys, again, what are your trends that you have seen which you think, will this fly or will this not fly? I got a picture here of a development place. This is obviously in Subang. We just picked a random picture here. I guess the topic here is about buying for properties that are integrated cities, so to say, and some of them are locked in. Like I think if you go like to Kia Santos is another place. If you go to Kia Santos, you won't go out. You can come in there, you're not really going to go out because everything is there from your Aeon Bake to your gyms
and that's why the rentals are so good and the demand is good because you have everything there. I think that's one of the key criteria of a good development with good yields.
Yeah, and I guess places like even like Arda Bansara today is gone up because people tend to stay in Ara and they don't go out of Ara. Once they go home, it's like everything is there. They're like, there's no reason to go out.
It's a very different place 15 years ago than now because now we have the shopping malls, the clinics, everything, the restaurants. 15 years ago when Ara Damansara started, it was literally just residential, and it was much cheaper back then. Yeah, now it's gone up a lot.
Yeah. Tiban makes a comment. What your thoughts on low tenure to buy house? Is more years good or lesser years good? How to calculate how much monthly payment can be divided for house buying? So, Mark, your thoughts on this?
Okay, for loan tenure, I would say at the moment, the more is better because interest rates are so low. Mortgage rates, it will cost you about 2.9% right now. If you compare that to what you can make on equities or even leaving your money in EPF, you're getting much more higher than 2.9%. It's basically a nice, cheap cost of borrowing makes sense. So you want to stretch out as much as you can, but get those full flexi, semi-flexi loans where, let's say interest rates start to go up, you can pump money in and shorten how much you owe. So you have that flexibility. I think, you can shorten the period, but you cannot lengthen the period later on unless you go through the whole refinancing process, which has its cost. So why not go for the longest tenure first and then adjust from there based on your financial needs and how the interest rates are. In terms of calculating monthly payment, there's no formula that I can use quickly, but I would say you can just go to a mortgage calculator, just key in how much you want to borrow and how many years. Like the CIMB mortgage calculator is pretty accurate. Just key in there and the interest rate, and they'll tell you
And
how much.
and they go based on like 1/3 of your income or your net income, isn't it?
Yes, in terms of how much you can borrow, it depends on your income. If you are making above 5,000 a month, banks usually allow you up to 85% of your net income to borrow into your mortgage. It's a pretty high amount.
Yeah. Yeah. So next question here is from Lechman. What are your thoughts on buying big layouts in KLCC, Monkera, and PJ? Because it's a two thing. One is you buy smaller, you can rent easier to sell, but big ones also you can't sell easily. Correct? Because it's like the buyers are going to be high-end buyers. You can't. You also don't want to. Yeah.
For big layouts, the downside is it may not move as quickly as smaller layouts. Smaller layouts, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, you have many type of big target markets for it. But for the locations here, KLCC, Monkera, and PJ, I think in KLCC, smaller layouts may make more sense because you may attract more bachelors and more people without kids and so on who wants that city KLCC lifestyle. But then versus Monkera and PJ, I think big layouts do make sense because you have a lot of family living. People like to live families in PJ for the environment, or Monkera as well. So I think big layouts can work, but you need to understand the neighborhood. Are there a lot of families there? Is there demand for family units? And how's the buying power, income of the people in the area? I think all these matters.
Because I remember like in early 2000s, big layout properties in KLCC was the thing. I have a lot of friends who were engineers in Petronas and oil and gas companies, and they all had like big units in KLCC, like grand, and then now if you go to KLCC, it's all empty because they're all not here.
Because I find that locals do not like to stay in KLCC area. They actually prefer to stay in townships like PJ, in Subang Jaya, in Monkera, in TTDI.
Some even go to Sumambolo, Rawang. They go even further than that,
Yes.
Even if they got money, they go further because they might get bigger, better units, yeah. So yeah, I think you're right. I think places that are more, I mean, if you're buying to stay, I think it doesn't matter. Where your heart is, you buy, go and do it, But if you're buying for as investment, yeah, I would go on like places like Monkera, PJ. I think those places will actually, people will stay, owners will stay, KLCC, I don't know, market now, I don't know what the market will be for future.
It's too expat focus, I think, for KLCC. Not enough local demand, so
and as soon as like I don't know, I think you were too young when the club scene in KLCC was the thing, like the heydays of F1. I mean, imagine this. I want to give you a picture now. 20 years ago.
I was there when Zoo Club was on Jalan Ampang lah.
No, bro. Okay, let me tell you what is my youth. Okay, I'm now 43 years old. I'm very open about my age. Okay, in year 2000, we just had the F1 circuit in Sepang, just opened. Every weekend when they had the F1 there, the F1 teams will be partying in KLCC area. So each one of the places will be booked up by like a team Mercedes, or we booked out, as a party town. We had a lot of expats coming in there because the oil and gas it was big. And someone who knows someone who's in oil and gas, and they will have a party in each condominiums. We had the clubbing scene was so big, so everybody wanted to be in KLCC area. It was so packed, to the point that almost every property there was filled up. It was so much hype there, but now it's just dying off because I think that people are going away. The thing is going away. I think like people are looking to their own suburbs having malls, so they stay there. They don't actually go out, But yeah, it's nowhere as what it used to be. It used to be really packed. It used to be crazy packed. Yeah, it used to be like going to Batu Caves. That's how it was going to KLCC. They were so packed with people any time of the day. Okay. Ernest says some be quite good project running. Justin Chan says 200 fellas. Thank you, Justin. Okay.
Thank you.
And then Ernest Chua says again, based on current interest rate, 35-year loan, every 100K will be, is that all? Every 100K? So cheaper.
About there. 1 million loan cost me about 4,000 a month. Yeah. It's quite cheap because interest rates are so cheap and you're taking over 35 years. That's why now with leverage, it's quite easy to buy $1 million property. I just need 4,000 a month.
You know what's the issue? I'm too old, bro.
Yes, because loan is up to 70 years old. If you're 35 and below, it's very affordable to buy a property.
Yeah, I just realized it's the issue with the loan, because the older I get, the less I can buy. So I guess people out there who are thinking about buying property, buy now, buy young,
Yes. I the best time to buy is 40 and below, if you ask me, Thana. After 40, it starts going shorter and shorter. Actually, after 35, it starts going shorter. But up to 40, you can still take 30-year loans, not too bad. Then it starts going 20-something.
You want to hear a joke, bro? I remember buying a property when I was, I think, mid-20s. I was 31 years old. And I bought a property, and I wanted it to be 17 years. I took a weird number. It was 17 or 18 years loan I took. Because I came up with a mathematical number, what would be the equivalent number amount to pay for the rental and stuff, So, but now looking back, I'm like, yeah, I should have gone for the longest possible loan, interest now is at 2%, imagine your kids will come back to you and say, Papa, why didn't you buy a property when you were young? You could buy a 500K property for what 500 property means how much? 2K a month, is it?
2,000 a month.
Are you serious?
Not bad. What if I'm a
So
fresh grad, I make 3,500 a month, 2,000 a month. Okay lah, 1,500 can lah. Can still survive lah. Easier with a partner, of course.
That's so cheap, That is so cheap.
Might have to eat some Maggi mee, but I think 3,500 a month salary, 500K house might be just nice. Can lah.
Oh, that's so cheap, man. So yeah, my advice to all the young guys out there, please go ahead and buy properties. Don't wait.
I think you should buy while you can, because the fact is, when interest rate is low, cost of borrowing is low, that means cost of money is cheaper. There's more money going into the market. That will cause more inflation. So while interest rates are low, it's going to eventually create an inflation scenario where the cost of properties, the cost of material and everything, cost of construction is going to go up. So when that goes up, you're going to have to buy at more expensive prices anyway. So by keeping cash or by not buying any assets,
I guess the other way to look at it is that they call it jumping on the bandwagon. It may sound bad, but I guess in a way it's true, because why? If you don't have property to leverage off next property, it's hard. But you already have one.
It gets more and more expensive.
It gets easier for you to leverage that property to buy another property, to flip, whatever, So whatever you can afford, like you afford 100K, 50K, whatever amount you can afford, buy as young as possible. And now, during the pandemic, we have the lowest interest possible. It doesn't matter where you buy. I mean, can be any
prices
property.
are like amazing. The deals are great. Government's been very helpful towards the property market by giving free stamp duties. You're saving 3-4% there in itself, thanks to the government with the HOC campaign. I think it's the best time. Like, interest rates are low. You have all these growth expansionary policies here to help the property market, and so it's only a matter of time for it to.
Because when you buy the times, when you buy the times are good, you are most likely to pay more. Isn't it? Then you're like, why?
It's a graph, right? You want to buy when things are bad, sell when things are good. But it's easier said than done. Most people follow trend. Everyone's scared to buy, so don't buy. Everyone buying, I buy.
Yeah. And correct. Yeah. We got Derek here. Derek's an accountant, by the way. Got a question. When buying a place for the first time, whether it's apartment or condo, if it's a freehold or leasehold, when taking a housing loan for the first time, do we need to have a guarantor when applying?
Okay, it doesn't matter what property type, apartment or condo, or if it's your first time, second time, or freehold leasehold, you do not need a guarantor unless the banks feel that your income is not enough for the property. If they feel your income is not enough to pay for the property mortgage, or if you have no credit history, then banks will ask you not to have a guarantor, because in property there's no guarantor. What it is it's a joint loan applicant.
Joint loan, correct.
It's correct. Cars, yes, you have guarantor. Properties is not guarantor. They may use the word guarantor, but actually what it means is actually a
Joint loan, yeah.
joint loan.
My advice is that as soon as you guys start working, get a credit card. And you say like, why, Thana? Why? No, credit card shows your credit history. Okay, but obviously use the credit card with caution, spend wisely, and pay off.
Yeah, spend what you have, lah. Yeah.
But having the credit card shows that you have capability to you got enough sensibility, discipline to have a credit card and pay it, and that. Then go and buy a car if you need to, because car is what you go to travel. And because once you have that, buying property is easy because you already got.
Because banks want to see your repayment. Exactly.
Exactly, and then Jason says, no lah, I don't think so. Jason, no, Jason. Jason is my classmate from from very young. Bro, I tell you, if I can go back and tell our younger self, I will say buy young, I think it's possible. In fact, I think my first property.
Imagine if you bought a lot of properties 20 years ago, Thana.
No. I mean, I bought property when I was 24 years old. I think was my first property I bought. Yeah. So I did buy young, but I was always buying properties to think where I want to stay versus what to invest. And then my mind, why I was so stupid? Why have I buy Kajang? Why? I don't want to stay Kajang. I want to buy property even smaller where people want to stay. I can easily sell. So my mindset has changed in the recent years. I sold properties that are more for me to stay because I only stay one property. I can only put my bum in one place. My bum can only be in one place.
The mindset has to change. You don't think about where you want to stay. You think, where do people want to stay? Where is the offices?
Yeah, right. And then Ernest Chua Samsen, depend on your bank documents. If you got good record history, security report is good. You know what? It's easy. Within a day, you get the results, and it'll be good. We got a question from Louis Lim. I'll come to that one. I'm laughing about it shortly. Will you still buy properties in Malaysia or invest in overseas like Australia? So buying local or buying overseas? What do you think about that?
Me personally, because all your income and all that is in Malaysia, it's definitely easier to buy in Malaysia if you are living in Malaysia. But I think if you're comparing to somewhere like Australia where the property market's already grown quite a bit versus Malaysia, I would rather Malaysia, because if you look at the similar regions around like Jakarta, Bangkok, and their GDP per capita is lower than us, but their property per square feet is higher than us. So I think Malaysian properties are actually underpriced, believe it or not. So I would still prefer to buy Malaysian properties, but only in specific areas in Malaysia, not randomly all around Malaysia. Same thing with Australia. I think Australia is good if you're buying specific suburbs in big cities as well. Then it's a good buy as well. But there's opportunity everywhere, Malaysia and Australia. But Malaysia is very underpriced, and I think it will shoot up a lot once COVID pandemic starts to end and foreigners start to buy back again. And if the MM2H policy is revised to be more loosened so that foreigners can come back and start buying and staying here, it will push up prices a lot, which I think they're re-looking at the MM2H policy again now after a lot of criticisms.
Robert Kiyosaki made a comment or quote in his book. He said, I never buy property, this is in his early days, I only buy properties that I can actually jog to or run to. If not, he won't buy. In his early days, he made a comment in that book he made, but obviously now he's traveling the world, he's buying property everywhere. But the point was, if you can't see it physically, you can't react fast enough to what's happening, because it could be that the area, something happens in the front of the area, whatever. So you need to be there.
You need to know the current situation.
Exactly. And Ernest Shaw says right. Buying properties overseas is a risk because you're not familiar with the country, and it's like for example when I think you were telling me about property in Jalan Pudu that you bought, and you said Jalan Pudu is near BBCC and bought it, but the property that you bought I will never buy because I'm from this area. For me, that area you bought was like, come on, the area is like, I used to know the area when I was young, and I can't get over the fact what it is. Or, for example, someone who is familiar with a particular area, their mind can't get over the fact. So, so if let's say, he made a comment here again about Malacca. For example, foreigners will buy a property in Malacca, and for us, like, hey, Malacca, you pay millions. Are you sure or not? But the foreigners will buy. So same thing here. We are the foreigners who are buying in Australia, thinking it's a good property because it sounds cool, sounds posh, but we're not there. So I think it's a risk, like,
Yeah, you want to invest overseas, invest in other assets lah. Property is too not so liquid.
I took advice from Stephen Lau, who's in Horizon. He said, Thana, stop buying shares in Malaysia, buy overseas. And one of the best things I ever did. I've completely stopped buying Malaysian shares.
Shares, it makes sense. Because with inflation, if Malaysia inflation goes crazy, right? Property are protected by inflation because the cost of material will go up. So it's fine. If the ringgit weakens, my property value is still gonna go up.
Exactly.
But
shares is different. Shares is overseas. But property, I think it's the other way around. I think you should always buy Malaysia, Bob Young says, Malaysia can still invest. Malaysia, you can find stealing property, absolutely. My house where I stay is 15 minutes from KLCC, and you get properties 300k or even below than that, which is amazing.
Think about that in US dollars, Thana. It's not even $100,000. So that's how cheap we are. Yeah. So I think,
but it won't be cheap for long. I don't
think it will, because again, interest rates cheap. All these stamp duties, all these expansionary policies Malaysia has, it won't be too long.
The cost of building a property is going up day by day. We got a friend, Stephen Au, again, who does development, and he's saying about how raw materials prices are going up as our currency weakens. It's a real thing. Property prices are going to go up. And when that comes, I'm just scared for the youth, the youth of tomorrow. How are they going to afford to buy properties? It's going to be scary.
Further and further away.
Arvind Jaya says, does the no money down method work? How did you start with your first purchase? What income level you need to start investing? Okay, very basic. Let's say you're a fresh grad coming out. You earn what? 3K, 4K a month? Fresh grads?
Yeah, about there. I think most of the time, degree grads will be should be at least 3K.
Okay, so which means you can probably take a loan for about 1,200 loan, which means you can easily get a property for 300k property you can buy and
very easy.
Very easily can buy. Do it. The no money down method. I think if you're buying, the best thing is to buy new properties. They come with deals.
Yeah, new properties, you have the no money down rebate from the developer, free legal fees. Now, under home ownership campaign, up to 31st December, actually is a great time to buy if it's your first house, because, or even if it's your second house, because the stamp duty is free by the government. So it's definitely a good time to look for something.
For me, Mark, paying the deposit is not so bad, but paying the legal fee is painful. The legal fee,
free.
So you buy a property that's an old property, and you're buying that, paying the legal fee is just so scary. So it just hurts me a lot. So I've got a phobia about buying property that I used and I bought before in the past. When I'm gonna pay money out, and I'm going like, this money is just burned. It's burned money, man. It's burned money. Stamp duty for the I got to pay the legal fees for the loan, legal fee for the property S&P, and it's just money burnt. It's not fun. It's not fun at all.
My first property purchase was no money down method, because when I first graduated, savings limited and all that. So I would say it definitely works, and it's much easier today to do it at the moment.
Sumitan Musami, should you go property where the developer promises of a basic need? Should you go property where the developer promises for basic need for the people to live in the future? I don't quite get this question, Sumitan.
Maybe what it means is there's no basic infrastructure yet, and should you buy it yet? Me personally, I wouldn't take the risk. That's a very high risk unless the property is dirt cheap. I wouldn't take the risk, because any developer, anyone can promise you anything, but I would buy and decide based on what is already there, what is really under construction. It's high risk. Property is not something you want to make a wrong bet on, I think.
Don't take risk, buy what you see, and buying for a very raw unit, Just be careful. Bobby Young says now is the best time to take opportunity of no. Yeah, exactly.
Before Bank Negara catches everyone.
I mean, put it this way: 20 years ago, you could pull a lot of stunts to buy properties. You could do a lot of things, with photocopiers and stuff to get loans. And then now it's more banks are more linked up. It's more difficult. As you go day by day, it's going to get more and more difficult to get loans. So yeah, take opportunity. Buy now. Louis Lim, wow, so cheap. Yes, Kevin Chiu says, evening. Which region are you looking at for capital growth movement for population density in Malaysia? And specifically, which part is around Greater Klang Valley? So again, around Klang Valley, which part of Klang Valley do you think there's a lot of potential growth because of people increasing in that area?
Okay. Which area for growth and movement? I think Klang Valley is still the best. It's the strongest, most resilient, and has the best ROIs most of the time. You can't really go wrong with Klang Valley. In terms of where in Klang Valley, usually me personally, all my properties, I invest in areas that are already developed with good infrastructure that people want to stay around there. Places where I see a lot of people are going to the restaurants and all that, like Subang Jaya, where you have hospitals, you have shopping malls, you have universities and all that. So when there's so much going on, so many office towers and so on, then it's going to be a strong area to buy into. PJ is another area I buy into because, again, they have all those amenities, university, hospitals and all that. These are my two favorite areas. I would avoid areas where you see too many high-rises in one space, because then if you're buying a high-rise when there's already a lot, then you are in for some competition. But it's not always a bad thing. Sometimes the demand can still outweigh that growth in supply. But usually I like to try and play it safe, find the lowest amount of property type for what I'm buying. So if I'm buying a high rise, I look for areas which is super flat. Like Subang Jaya, why I liked it is because it's super flat. Not many high rises, but the demand for the area is strong. Same thing with PJ, is also pretty flat. Only now you can see high rises coming up, so it's still controlled supply but strong demand.
Bobby makes a comment here. I didn't know about this. In South Korea, they can rent units until they are 53 years old. Then only they have down payment to buy a small 800 square feet property.
Oof.
So sad.
Very expensive.
Ernest says Malaysia got older women, while people in Singapore, Hong Kong take their life saving to pay upfront SMT. Yeah, true.
Enjoy the loopholes while they're there.
Afiq asks, foreigner can buy a housing loan in Malaysia? Answers yes, you can. It's all about the documentations, where you work. Employment income is always the best. Business income is difficult.
Margin is lower, but you can.
Kevin says buy Johor. I don't know about Johor.
You don't know about Johor.
Comment bro. To me, Klang Valley is safe. Klang Valley is very safe.
Klang Valley is safe.
Because I think like 10 years ago, 70% of all population of Malaysia was in Klang Valley. Today, it's about 50% of all population of Malaysia is in Klang Valley. So think of Malaysia and all population is in Klang Valley. That's how big Klang Valley is, So yeah, definitely, Arvind says, remarks on Taman Seputeh as a place to invest. Similarly cheap considering how standard it is. 1.4 thousand square feet apartments available at sub 500.
Wow.
I think I know what you're talking about. I think he's talking about not Seputeh. It's actually called it's that place opposite Mid Valley when you take the corner. Something Seputeh. You know the place on the corner, the junction on Seputeh. If you in opposite Mid Valley, that place, Arvind, if I'm not mistaken, I think you're talking about, has got an issue because that place, the developer built a swimming pool, and then all the facilities there. And once the developer absconded away, they found out that the swimming pool was developed on the KTM land. So that currently they're paying monthly rental to KTM because it's actually next to the KTM track. So the whole facility place of the condominium, it's on KTM land, and it's quite rundown, So if that's what you're talking about, think twice. But yeah, if it's not that place and it's Seputeh proper, buy.
Yeah,
it's
I was gonna say if it's real Sapute 500k, buy man, buy.
But I think
If the property is in good condition, the facility.
the one he's talking about, I think is different. Okay, LL, cyber and cyber. Any potential to growth?
I think it's a bit challenging now because of the amount of supply and the amount of high rises were built to target those university students, while university education may be a bit from home and not so central for the next certain period of time. So I think it's a bit stunted now, the growth there, and there's a lot more land, so it will take some time before you see high appreciations lah. Yeah.
I think cyber is an interesting place because when I began, I used to work in cyber before. When I began to work in cyber back then, it was a place whereby you go in there and it was dead. Nothing was there. It was an empty lot. And then at that point in time, we were like, oh my God, it's so far. It seemed very far to go cyber back then. I'm talking about usually about 15 years ago, 10, 15 years ago, to go cyber was very far. Today, the highway is so good. Cyber has a lot of facilities, and more people are actually owning cars now. To the point that I think going to cyber, like if you give me an option now from where I stay to go to work, if an option to go to Bangkok South, where I work now, and to go to cyber, I'll pick cyber because no traffic, easy to go, easy to park, and I'll come back home here. So I think cyber is losing out because people, the connectivity to cyber is so good. Because it's so good to get to cyber, they can be anywhere in Klang Valley and get to cyber easily. You know what I mean? You could be in PJ and be in cyber in 15 minutes.
Then that's a good thing for cyber, no?
Yeah, that
means it's accessible.
It's good for cyber, correct, as office and to work and stuff. But do people want to live there because the malls there are not really big? I think the surrounding area, that like what you say, like in say Bukit Bintang, KL Central, Mont Kiara, and all places where there are a lot of these malls and gyms and all this extended community, the centers, they are coming up in cyber. It's coming up, but it's not to the extent of what is there. And I think
I get what you mean. Because it's so easy to leave Cyber Jaya, people are not staying inside. They just let's go to KL to hang out.
Like you see, like Ara, went to an Ara. I don't want to go out of Ara. Everything say about why do I go out? Say stay here, But because it's so easy to get out of cyber, you're like in cyber, you got even if you got everything there, you're like, it's okay, we'll go to KLIA or go to somewhere else because it's easy to get out of cyber,
So development may be slower lah.
And also the place is very well developed, well planned out. It's so spacious. It doesn't feel cozy, in my opinion. It's very airy and it's not cozy like what we are used to. So I think that's a part of the challenge of cyber. But it's if you're working there, why not? But I think for growth, the land there is a lot of land still left there to develop. So I think there are more and more new properties coming out. So you're always fighting with the newest thing in cyber.
That's the thing.
So that's the thing. How do you fight new properties in cyber? You may have a property 10 years old. You're fighting. So it gets very hard. Yep. Okay. Let's go to the next one. We got a lot of questions here. Wen J Yao, what do you guys think about auction properties? Is there something we should look after in detail proceeding everything? Any loopholes to look out for?
Auction properties, you have to come up with the 10%. There's no loopholes around it. You need to have the 10% ready when you go and bid. But the benefit with these auction properties is you can get much below the market, but usually not the first round. I would say if you're looking at auction properties, try and find those that's gone a few rounds without any bids, then you get it really below market, like second, third round onwards. Then you get a very good deal.
Some fun fact about auction properties that I found out about like some time ago was auction properties, you don't pay SMP legal fees. You know that, no? In an auction property, there is no SMP. There is like a rate or whatever you call it, and basically there is no, the auction itself becomes the sale to you. So you don't actually have a legal fee or SMP involved in that process. You're not buying from them because it's transferred to you, So you save that bit. But to me, it's a bet because you're buying a property without seeing conditions. Because even if, let's say, you buy a condominium and you don't know what's inside, even the tiles are broken, 10K. Let's say the bottom is damaged, 7K, 8K. So it quickly adds up. So it's a gamble. So unless it's way below market value, I wouldn't get some properties. It's not worth your time.
Yeah. In fact, some auction properties they're actually more expensive than some deals that you can actually get from the sub-sale market if you really negotiate the deal up. So yeah,
and some you got to pay the auctioneer's fee also. So yeah, it may not be actually a cheap thing.
A lot of costs you need to be aware of.
Yeah. Arvin says, being said, smaller farmers in towns are affordable. Are there any significant drawbacks in the area? Nah, Seputeh is a very fantastic area. I think it's
very nice.
It's a great area. I will buy it.
Yeah.
If you're not into it, go it. He says, check out Taman Robson Apartments. Yeah, it's an older unit, but I think the neighborhood is nice. It's a nice place to stay. I don't mind staying there. In Seputeh, you might see that's scared. I want to say, if you go to across the road, you might see Aston Martin Rapid.
Nice area. Road, I think it's easy to go to PJ, easy to go to Mid Valley, to Bangsa South. Nice central place.
Yeah. Afiq says, buy Johor properties when borders open. Airbnb booked by Singaporeans every weekend. Good business. No lah, Singaporeans come to KL lah. I don't know. Why would Singaporeans want to go to JB? What's JB to begin with? I mean, I don't know. I haven't been to JB.
Some of them are scared of Johor. It's like the hood, Oh, you go to Johor.
You're going to Brooklyn. Oh my God, it's
it's
the hood.
I know some Singaporeans who look at it that way. Actually, they're a bit
worried.
I understand Johor. The benefit is it's actually so oversupplied now. That some properties there, I heard, are very, very discounted at the moment. So if you really get like an insanely good deal, then maybe you can consider. But you have to be very careful with Johor, because if you buy too expensive, you might end up losing quite a bit of money because of the supply there. Because before this, there was a big hype, sell to Singaporeans, sell to Chinese, Forest City and all that. And now, because borders are closed, there's a big glut going on there. So just be careful. Make sure if you are buying there, it's like a super good deal. Yeah.
I think anybody trying to buy property on the assumption that someone else will come and buy, like foreigners to buy, I think it's a risky bet,
Very risky.
As long as half the property can be bought by people who are buying to stay there, locals, it's safe.
Yes.
Because that extra 30% is the extra, but the basis must be, do you see yourself living and working there? I mean, that's the basic of any property.
You need that local demand to help appreciation.
Ernest say, Seputeh quite good. August can hear and RS6 sound. Not Seputeh actually. You're close. You're close, not Seputeh. Okay. Tiban Naidu says, Johor property prices are increasing because Singapore set people working in Johor. I guess you're right. I mean, if you're Johorian, prices in Johor towards Singapore side get costlier, but I'm not.
Only the Iskandar, the JB side maybe.
Lakshman says Penang Island is massive. Penang is different lah. Penang is no land, scarce of land, and Penang people are rich.
Penang Island, I say, is a great to play the appreciation game, but the rental yield is just weak because the prices are a bit high for what the income in the area is, and many of the Penang people like to buy themselves. They don't like to rent. So Penang property, I try to avoid because the rental yield is the issue. You won't be able to get a high rental there.
I noticed that, like if you go for Airbnb in Penang, like for what you pay and what you get, you're like, wow. I mean, I paid this much and I get this kind of properties.
It's very cheap. The rental so cheap. And the stay,
and it's like, it doesn't make sense. And even I think a while back, my wife and I were looking at properties in Penang to live and work there, and income there is lower. Generally, income there is lower compared to KL. So yeah, it's pretty.
It's better to rent there lah if you're staying there. I think from what I see, the rental yields are so low. It's a better deal.
Yeah. Wong Ki Sim says, how COVID with the work from home trend will affect the rental market in Klang Valley, Subang Jaya, or PJ in particular? That's a very good point, because right now people are thinking that they could stay anywhere and work, isn't it? So now they're not bound by having to stay where they work. They can go for places that has got better facilities and stuff. Do you think that will affect that in the future?
I think it's gonna help against suburbs that people have community areas like restaurants and all that where people like to hang out. So I think PJ and Subang will be very positive from this, because people will start moving out of KL center maybe and go towards PJ, Subang, or wherever is suburb areas where they're comfortable with, not so dense, not so full of traffic. And I'm seeing that in some of my properties. During MCO, I still managed to rent out my property in PJ. You know about my property.
Yeah, I know.
In May, I managed to rent it out. It covers my mortgage. All my PJ properties, my Ara Damansara properties, all rented out. But my KL property, the rental yields are actually weaker than my PJ, Subang, and all that. So I think that there's this trend where people are moving out and all that of the center. And so the yields are bad there. I can get a higher rental for 1 bedroom in PJ than a 2-bedroom in KL, which is crazy.
Correct. I think I concur with Stephen. So I think also that with the whole COVID situation, traffic in PJ has actually reduced also. It has also reduced. PJ now seems more livable.
Very livable, yeah.
It's very more livable, I think, and the connection now is much better. So I think PJ, I mean, if you can buy in PJ, Newtown, Old Town, I mean, anywhere in PJ, I think it's that's going to be the next big thing, if you ask me. PJ is definitely a place you should consider if you can afford it, And of course, Subang, obviously next to PJ, it's there, it's right up there.
Thana personally went for Subang Jaya.
I couldn't afford PJ, bro, so I bought Subang.
Oh, hey, your price can buy PJ, okay? What are you talking about?
I'm a poor man. I cannot afford PJ, bro.
Nice try. Subang Jaya is expensive.
people like you can afford PJ. I cannot. I must. Other team is pretty much, most of them are in PJ. I'm the one that's outside of PJ. so yeah, I wish.
That one is your family choices.
Yeah. When J Yao says, are the banks really suspicious if the bidder offer way less and more than what is the true value of the property? What do the banks look for setting to proceed a normal sale? Or this is about auction properties. So auctions, basically you offer what you want and the highest bidder gets. So there is nothing about the bank, and the bank is just doing its due diligence and selling for the property, there is no normal sale. When it goes to auction, they must go to auction and get the best price. So if you're lucky, but I guess this is where you got to buy. Like, I think the good deals in auction properties is when you buy something that's actually toxic properties. If let's say it's it's actually a landed corner house in, let's say in Makota Cheras or Cheras, whatever, and missing windows, broken doors, whatever, looks a little run down, those would go very, very cheap. That you can buy at half the price. But if you go for something that looks good, the better it looks, in a good location, the more smaller the gap you have with market price, and plus with the fact that you can't inspect property, I would say think about it, think about it.
Yeah.
Okay. We got Bobby Young again over here. I want to buy property in Genting Highlands, so during lockdown, actually,
Hey, actually, a lot of properties for sale now in Genting
you
Highlands.
wanted to buy in Genting Highlands, correct? Remember?
I almost did, yes. I was tempted, but
he went to me and said, I want to buy
Dodged
here.
the
This
bullet.
is good. I must buy here.
Aiyo.
You fell in love with the lobby, isn't it? The lobby was so nice, so big, and you're like, oh, this is so nice.
Yeah,
Look at the lobby.
But I would say Genting Highland, you buy for holiday home, okay lah. Don't buy for investment lah. It's tricky a
But
bit.
if you had bought for investment right now, the property is ready.
Aiyo, who's gonna rent from you? Yeah, that's the thing lah. It's very risky unless you got a lot of budget. You got budget, you just want to invest, then that's your call.
And that's exactly a trend, isn't it? Because Genting Highlands will be almost 100% will be people who are staying there for vacations, or people are staying there for short term. It's not going to be people who are staying there for like just staying there for living there. It's not going to be the case.
That's the thing. The income is just not stable for properties there. I feel like
Yeah.
very seasonal.
Yeah. Okay, so we got lots of comments here actually. I'm just trying to scroll back up. Calvin says cyber is coming up, but very slow in Malaysia. Yes, correct. Malaysia, it's a slow journey there in Malaysia. It's very slow to bring up cyber. Yeah, it's hard. Okay. LL says I am planning. I'm to drive ACs to leave the rural area. I have no idea who this is. Must be one of our guys.
Thana and A6. It
Yeah,
comes after you.
Bobby says KLGC is a damn good place too. Yeah, I think
I agree. I sell there too.
Yeah, the prices there.
KLGC is something. It's like a gem, lah, Bobby, right? Because you have all the greens, the golf course, the forest reserve. But you're only a few minutes away from KL, Damansara Heights. Can go to grocery like Thomas, get some bakery.
It's a one. Yeah, I think the future is going to go up crazy, but yeah. And then Bobby says, if you are super rich, want to wallop a lot below market, you can. But current price, people like us buy new lah. Yeah, too. Like buying new is always safer. Jason Wong says, say some properties in Puchong and then around 400k. Is it market price too high or too good to be true? Landed in Puchong.
It depends where in Puchong. If it's like central Puchong, that is too good to be true lah. You're not gonna get Bandar Putri terrace for 400,000, I think, unless it's like run down or single story or something. I'm not sure. Haven't seen Puchong, like proper Puchong. I think when they say Puchong, a lot of these ads they mean like Puchong South, nearer to cyber or stuff like that. It depends.
Yeah, I think you're correct. I think Puchong, if you go far enough, you'll hit cyber, isn't it? You hit Dengkil. Sorry.
Dengkil. Yes.
Dengkil, correct.
Yeah. There may be some areas that you have to see.
Yeah. And then I don't know why the guy making about Asus hybrid. I got a feeling that someone we know. I don't know who the guy is.
Tada! You are A6 hybrid king lah.
Okay, we've got Guga Ratshan Tinaga. What are your thoughts on homes in Bangsa? A single-story home in Bangsa can get 2.6 rental. Will the rental price come down in the future? I guess the Bangsa homes are not cheap, isn't it? They're in millions, isn't it?
Not cheap at all, yeah, millions. But the thing is about landed houses is the rental yields are always bad. A lot of terrace houses, it costs you $1 million, but the rentals only 2,000. As you can see here, Bangsa also 2.6k, but single story. So percentage-wise, the yields are never good. So I wouldn't buy landed for investment unless you have very strong cash flow. I would buy more to stay. I think landed is more those you buy to own stay.
Because the reality is that Klang Valley will expand this way. Will expand. And people will buy newer and newer. Bangsa may be a good area. It's a fantastic area. But
I don't think the rental price will come down. 2.6k is pretty cheap for Bangsa already. I think it's a
and then we have got Con says Singaporeans buy Johor to stay there and commute to work. For holiday, they prefer to go to Melaka and Klang Valley for holiday. I don't know about that.
Really popular.
Yeah, I don't know about that because if Singaporeans who stay in Johor, they may become non-resident for tax purposes because they're staying there.
I think it's more of the Malaysians that work in Singapore and live in Johor lah.
Really,
do that setup. Yeah, there's a lot of that.
Okay, we got Arvin again. There's a big comment there. Prefer to invest bread and butter properties within Klang Valley, so 500k, 3+2. Yields are often low, 5%, or 2 low cost, medium, basic unit, but yield 5 to 8%. Okay, so basically it's do you buy purely on rental yield and buy cheap? Because example, if you buy a flats in Pandan Jaya, it may cost you like $200,000, but the rental could be up to 1,000 plus, 1,200 because of LIT and all that. So that's pretty good yield, okay? But you're talking about flats basically, flat apartments,
no?
So which one would you think? I mean,
I think this boils a lot down to personal preference. For me, I will go for option one, the bread and butter one, just because I think it's a lot easier to, I mean, in terms of rental collection and all that, it may be easier. And I think there's more appreciation in that sense.
The cheaper one or higher one?
The higher one, actually.
Yeah,
But
I agree, because as a property owner, I just find that even if I had to go twice a month to see my tenant to collect money or issue they never pay, whatever, it's horrible. It's just not worth my time. You know?
All the properties I own is in option one, and I will say that so far, touch wood, it's all been very easy. The tenant pays automatically because you attract that type of tenant. You attract the white collar, the responsible payee.
If it's for investment, guys, don't be scared. If it's for staying, buy cheaper if you touch a budget. But for investment, all you guys are there, you should look at like for example, our sponsor BBC is there. Buy properties that are as much as you can afford with good support network. Like the malls, the linked environments, or
look at the amenities, look at the demand,
and buy that, because you know why? The higher you buy, the better the tenants will be. The better they'll pay. Less issues. Even things like buying a property whereby the tiles are better quality, because you want it to last. I know properties in Batu Cave, one we bought. Some units actually the tiles actually break up and come out and fall apart and things happen. It's just not worth it. Buy good properties, good developers. Always. Con says, yes, Mark, my friend bought property in Johor, had to offload at a loss a couple of years back. Johor was apply. Johor is so big that if you go to KL to Johor, you will spend half the time in Johor on the highway. Is that right, Mark?
Yeah. It's huge. Whenever I go to Singapore, I'm like, okay, I reach Johor. Another few hours more to go.
It's how big Johor is. You pass by Malacca, and it's all pum, done. And Johor, you're forever in Johor. That's how big Johor is. Johor is a very big state. Okay. And then Con says, yes, Penang has been expensive all the while. And then David says, I'm from Penang. Penang can appreciate. Yes, I think Penang Island can appreciate. Island can appreciate, definitely. Island, work from home trend, people need bigger houses. I do agree. I think people will end up if it's only like 1-2 people in the house, that's fine. But like for me now, with my kids, I've got 3 kids and my wife. We have multiple Wi-Fi repeaters. We got computers in every room. We need a bigger space to work. If not, it's not possible. Kevin Chu says, currently have a landed residence my own stay. Won't need to upgrade soon. Was considering owning some condos for rental investments. However, wouldn't you recommend commercial instead? So the question is, he's got rent a house, want to get for condo for investment. Do you think should get commercial?
For me, it depends on your risk appetite. I think commercial things like now the pandemic can affect you quite a bit, right? Suddenly, if you own a shop lot and all that, renting to F&B, how are you gonna? So there's that risk with commercial. But traditionally, commercials would have better yields when things are good. The thing is, commercial, your graph is up and down much more. But in residential, I find it to be very steady. Even throughout the pandemic and all, I have my condo rented before MCO, maybe 2,003 a month for the 1+1 bedroom. Now I'm renting 2,002 a month. Doesn't change much. So throughout whatever happened, residential, if it's an area and a condo that people want to stay in, people will need a house. So that it's always like an evergreen. And if you find a good property, like we have properties in Subang that get up to almost 5% rental yield, it's possible to get a good yield. But of course, commercial, end of the day, will be the higher yield when things are good. So it depends on your risk appetite. End of the day, if you're willing to take that chance, and now with MCO, a lot of commercial deals, people are having it hard time to hold, then yes, commercial makes sense. Unless you're talking about industrial. Industrial is something I see even during this pandemic has been very resilient and strong.
Because they're forced to keep the machinery.
Yes, and most of the time they're allowed to run also factories and all this.
So Lacey says, Cheras, okay. I think Cheras, Klang, I'm from Cheras, baby. So Cheras, Klang, all the areas are actually good. but you must understand that you got to be in the area to buy. Be in the area, and think about where there's enough connectivity, where there's connectivity in the sense that LRT roads, all those are important aspects, and then you'll be fine. Okay, so we're coming to the end of the show. It's been 1 hour here. And we've got a few more questions we'll take before we call it a day. Any particular ones? What is MBB promo? So this is Brian Williams say, is it a good buy to take the MBB promo of house keys? 1 second. Looking at the comments over here. Just give Mark a minute. Okay, guys, as always, I made a comment earlier. If you guys want to join us, just say chat and we'll dial you in. For other shows also, we'll try to get you guys to be more involved and come in and chat with us. Okay, let's go to the comment again. Let's get Mark back in. Hey, Mark.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so this is about the MBB Maybank property on house keys. What's it all about?
Okay, house keys, I like the concept whereby if you're not sure where you want to stay, right? Because own stay is very subjective and you're worried to commit to the property. House keys give you the chance where you can actually rent first, and if you don't like it, you don't have to buy it. But if you like it, then you get the option to buy. Yeah. So that's actually pretty cool if you're looking for your forever home but not sure where that is yet. It's a nice opportunity for you to try the place. Okay. We got Sridhar here. Fresh grad, is it okay to rent first until the age of 35? The time I think I'll get married with a kid and toddler. My advice is buy early lah, if you can. Yeah, you can do that, but I recommend you buy investment property lah. You may not have to buy your own stay property. You can rent. In fact, if you want to stay in landed, I always think landed properties is better to rent than buy. Because the rental is so cheap in landed, 2,000 ringgit. But if I want to buy a landed for 1 million, that's 4,000 over ringgit a month installment. So better I rent the landed and then invest in high rise.
If I could go back in time, what I will do is I will never buy properties that are for me to stay. I'll buy properties that are for me to invest, and I will move around where my work is, and get new experiences.
So much better flexibility.
But now obviously I bought a house and I can't move. I'm stuck here.
So to answer the comment, buy to invest, but you don't have to buy to stay yet. Yeah, you can wait for that.
So Sridhar says, marriage, car, or house first for fresh grad. I'm still confused. Okay. This is my best. Let's see what you think. My thing is car first, marriage, then house. What's your take?
Car, marriage, house. My take, the way I did it, was actually house first, then car, then marriage.
Wow, orang kaya.
Because to me, house, you have that DSR limit. Let's say my income is 4,000, right? Then I can borrow only up to 3,000 for the house. So before I commit lock all my income, I buy the house first, so I can buy the
Sure. I'm the same with you, except my car was a cash purchase. So it wasn't.
Okay. If you're playing cash purchases, that doesn't matter.
So I think if you're taking a loan, if it's a loan thing, your first loan, I think if you can, go out there and get your house, and then get your car, because cars you can get quite cheap. Cars are nothing much, you can pay.
And car, it doesn't matter what your DSR is, you can probably get guarantor and all that.
It's easier to get a car loan than to get a housing loan.
Exactly. And marriage, that one is subjective lah. When you find the right one, you marry lah. That's what I would say.
I would say even people who don't get married, I think it's a good idea. And I'm married. But I love my marriage. I love my wife. Okay, Tiban says yes. It's 174 kilometers in Johor. Yeah, my wife is there actually.
Oh, no wonder.
Okay, everyone's saying the property market is booming up, but I still see a lot of overhang. Opinion: is it hot money from liquidity or real demand picking up?
I think it's both. It's a mix. In terms of real demand, I think it's not. It is also growing because there are a lot of fresh grads coming into the market now. And they all, especially since the MCO and the pandemic, a lot of them are actually trying to get out of home. They realize they cannot spend so much time with their family. Back then, it was like normal, I stay with parents, whatever. But now a lot of them are like, shit, I need my freedom. I can't be with them 24/7. I need my space. And they are coming out to rent. They're coming out to buy. And there is a real demand growth from this because of this revolution in local strong areas, like I said, where that's why I say areas with a lot of landed houses good, like PJ and Subang, because these are where all of these kids have been staying with their parents and they're like, oh, I want to stay near, but I want my space. And that's where the real demand is picking up in these areas. Hot money, of course, yes, that also plays a part, but I wouldn't say there's too much hot money yet, because banks are still very careful with who they lend to. So I don't think it's too much hot money. Yeah.
And I think also on the issue of oversupply, I think it's oversupply for properties that are good are being rented out. They are fully sold out. Properties that are bad, there is still a lot of empty units. So I think just the fact that there is empty units, you must see what is the property to begin with. Some are poor developers, poor layout, it's too
developers,
cheap, too cheap quality of material they use. Those will be empty.
Location, sometimes there's no infrastructure, no amenities, and it's going to be weak. Or sometimes it's just too many units. If you have an area that you have 4,000 units, how can the area take up all that 4,000 units unless there's some real reason for it to justify that kind of density? So all these are important factors.
Yeah. I'm going to take the last question today, and then we're going to call it a night. And it's LL. How to get pretty chick to operate together with joint name. Step 1, join Evil Club, become a member. We will poison you to get a good car. You may get a JDM, you may get a Conti, whatever it is, and then the chicks will come rolling in. But all
I wonder who this is, someone for the A6 club, isn't it?
yeah, this guy is trolling us like LL. I must find out who the guy is. Okay, guys, we're going to come to the end of the show here. And with that, and thank you for joining us. It's been fun having Mark along, talk about properties. If you want to hear more properties, please give us a shout, and we will come back again, maybe in a couple of weeks. Properties, any particular topic to talk about, just give us a note up in the Horizon FB page, and we will come back and we'll talk more about properties. It's something I love to talk about, properties. Okay. Any last questions? Any last comments? Sorry, before we go off.
That's it.
That's it. Okay, guys. Cheers and bye.
Bye.